Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. Excited to have my buddy Preston Letts here with us today. He's a member of Investor Fuel. He also built up a very large property management company and sold it off, recreated himself, failed a lot along the way. That's what we're going to talk about today is kind of failing your way forward to success. Failures are just a stepping stone on your way to success. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Preston, welcome to the show.
Okay. Hello, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, buddy. So I'm excited to talk about this today. We talk about this all the time. I think that's one of the beauties of our mastermind and getting around a lot of people that have had varying levels of success as you start to become, your skin toughens up, you've got some war wounds, and all those are really lessons to help make you better in the future. And so it's a great topic. I'm excited to talk about it with you today.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So tell us a little about your background. How did you get into real estate, which was really a lot of property management to begin with, right?
It was. So first thing I always start is nobody gets into property. Very few kids when they're little, when they're talking about what they want to do, very few kids, if any, ever say, well, I want to grow up and be a property manager. So most people fall into property management some way, shape, or form. I owned a business. I was in financial services, owned it with a couple partners. And, the partner thing wasn't working out, great. And one of the partners was my father. And so when we started as four partners, when my father and I had finally fired off, two of the four, and it was just me and him. I was kind of like, you know what, I love my father and love working with him, but I was kind of just itching to want to get into and do something else. And so kind of gave the business to him and let him take over and run it. And I got into real estate. Really more on the kind of the brokerage side and wanting to sell, work with clients and helping them buy cash flow producing properties. That was kind of, something that I had been doing for a while at that time and something that I had a lot of interest in. So got into that and then started my real estate business in 2006, which is perfect timing based on the market. I got into it, had a great first year, and then, really the market crashed. And so really the next few years were just all about figuring out a way to survive and, just coming up with different ideas and ways to generate revenue. And as we were going and I was working with clients and helping them buy property, one of them came to me and said, this property's too far away from where I live. Would you mind managing it? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I had no idea what I was going to do, no idea how it was going to work, but I was like, absolutely. That $50 a month that you're going to pay me sounds like a great idea. I'll gladly do that. And so then my thought was, well, gosh, if I'm going to sell people property, why don't I just sell it as a package deal? I'll help them buy property that's, cash flow producing property, single family homes, duplexes, 4 units, 6 units. Then I'll just offer to manage it. So I did that the first few years, and we literally started off and we were tracking rental income by spreadsheets. Not the amounts if it came in, but just checked, yes, that came in. And then if somebody, didn't pay the full amount of rent that month, it really screwed up our system. So we realized we needed to quickly change. And so did that for kind of a couple more years and then realized that the brokerage side of business really wasn't, just wasn't working for us. And I, realized if I was going to really grow a business, I needed to focus on more of the property management side. So we had about 150 doors. That was probably about 2011, probably had about 150 doors we were managing. And between 2011, 2017, grew it to 1,500 doors and sold it to what is now, they just made a big acquisition, what is now the largest single family or really, third party property management company in the country. So
Awesome. So It's interesting. So the property management, do you think you saw some parallels with whatever you were doing on the financial management side? I mean, it's kind of client management, financial management. A lot of people that you're a property manager for, it's an investment for them. So were there a lot of parallels in what you were doing before you got into real estate?
There was, just in the overall general dynamics. It's, you're working to obviously go out and get and obtain a client. And then, that's a business where there's a heavy client service side. It's not like you're, don't do business with a client, then you're moving on. It's, obtain a client, service the heck out of them, try to keep them around as long as possible. And, just kind of adding layers of clients on top of that.
Yep. So along the way, I know you said you were managing stuff in spreadsheets. Even us in our business, when we started in 2008, all investing. But back then there were not investor CRMs. There were no apps. There were no apps for real estate. I mean, there was nothing, right? So we're all using spreadsheets or some other CRM that were kind of bastardized to fit our use case and stuff like that. And throughout all those things, you learn and you grow, right? I think a lot of people that are watching this today are probably real estate investors, and some successful ones for sure. But as an entrepreneur, nobody wants to fail, but we view it as more of like, it's like fail. It's like, what do they say? Win or learn, right? So
Yeah.
when you fail, it's a learning opportunity of how to do it better or differently, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it definitely is. And you take even just something as simple as your system for tracking rent or your system for whatever is, it's funny, when I first started in business, I'd get really upset and take it really, really hard on myself if, my business failed in some aspect, and that could be losing a client or, not doing something the right way. And then after just a lot of reading and just talking to other people, quickly realized that, the minute that my real career, catapulted forward was the minute I looked at those failures as that's an opportunity to learn, and that's an opportunity to get better. And taking time throughout the month and week to look at those failures and go, okay, what do we do wrong and how do we fix that? And what system should we tweak as a result of that? Or how do we need to take that and get better? My staff hated it, but every time we lost a client, we would do we had a weekly call that would go over, why did we lose them? What did we do wrong? And basically we really analyzed it really deep to figure out, what do we need to do better as an organization? Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, and I know some of those just businesses, they look at that as, well, it's the client's fault, or, they don't want to really analyze the business. And what made us more successful as we went was just analyzing those failures as, hey, we got to take this as a learning opportunity. We got to get better as a result.
Yeah. I think one of the things that we do as entrepreneurs, and you've been in the business for a long time, and this is why so many people fail when they're newbies, because they are overthinking, well, what happens if I fail? And we know I'm going to fail a bunch. So let's get this lesson over with, I mean, failure is it's like I said, it's a stepping stone to success, right? Or on your way there. And so once you're not afraid to fail anymore, it really opens up a lot of opportunities. We can run into something head on instead of thinking about, well, what if something goes wrong? Because we know something's going to go wrong. And we just don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's so funny because my philosophy now is I want to fail as fast as I possibly can. And I'm kind of on my, really, this is the third business that I've started. I started two businesses and technically sold two. And so this is my third one. And now my whole philosophy and everything is, how fast can I fail at this? And how can I try as many things? How can I just fail at it as, or succeed at those, and then use that as kind of our pathway to, okay, this is how we're going to do this moving forward. And I actually get frustrated when we're not failing. It sounds really stupid, but I actually get frustrated when, if we're not trying enough things, or, things tend to be kind of moving along kind of copacetically, is, okay, well, the all of business and all of success comes from, trying something, figuring out it doesn't work, and be like, okay, let's not do that anymore. Let's try it like this.
Right.
And keep moving.
Yeah. And then sometimes, obviously, some great lessons to learn from are modeling other people or whatever. And so we talked about this a little bit up front. I know that sometimes I'm an idea guy. I have a lot of ideas, but the reality is I try to keep my ideas high level. And then I'm like, let me find somebody else that's doing what I want to do and just kind of model them, or learn from their mistakes, because clearly that's one of the benefits you get of being a part of a mastermind, is you can learn from other people's mistakes too, right? Like what worked, what didn't work. Oh, this guy, I talked to somebody and he said, yeah, never do that. That was a terrible idea. Why did I was about to do it. I'm glad I had that. So talk a little bit about kind of, modeling other people or other software that's out there that works without always having to kind of recreate the wheel, and how that's had an impact on your business so far.
So to be honest with you, is the two biggest things that I would equate to building a business and selling it for, very high multiple, especially in that industry, and would be, failing my way to success, but then also is not having the mindset of, that I want to be the creator or having a pride of authorship. I have zero pride of authorship. My whole goal is I'm a hunter. I'm out finding what works best, finding out who's successful and what they're doing, and then trying to swipe and deploy as much of what they're doing into my own business. And that really probably be, 50-50 along the failure component is the best ways to grow. A great example I've used of this is, my property management business. I built that business unfortunately, there is no investor fuel for the property management world. There's some associations and things like that, but there's nowhere where you can really go and freely, openly talk to people that are successful, how they're running their business, how they're structured, et cetera. So I would go to the association meetings and literally just grab somebody, pull them aside. Hey, how are you doing this? And just take feverish notes and just take all of that, bring it back to my business and implement it. When I've, in changing businesses and now really focusing more on the investing side, the first thing I did the minute that I realized this is a business that I wanted to pursue is I started looking at what are all the different ways and opportunities where I can get information. Masterminds, classes, I call myself an information junkie, is where can I find that? And I was really fortunate to actually stumble on Investor Fuel. And, basically my first Investor Fuel, my wife and I had basically, flipped a couple houses. And I was like, yeah, is this a business I want to do? I'm there and I'm hearing people talk about wholesaling and all these, just different things and how they're running their businesses. And I'm sitting there and I was the biggest newbie in the room by far, but it was great because it helped me to, basically take that, in a year from really doing no business to actually having a legitimate business that's producing revenue, and at a pretty good level. But it all starts with just having that mindset of go and find a person that's doing what you're doing and just try to get as much information from them and do it on your own.
Yeah. And clearly you had a ton of real estate experience. It was just a different kind of parallel, right?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. But it's also one of those things. So I take that. I know individuals that, and I can name a few of them, some good friends that would say, well, look, I've already had success, and kind of, take their ego and go, well, I'm smart enough to go and figure this out. I have zero ego when it comes to business. I think I'm the dumbest person in the room. Definitely the dumbest person on this call. And it's one of those things where I'm going to look for the smartest person in the room. I don't talk. I just ask questions and just do as much as I can to, and it does take a little bit of swallowing your ego, because you're talking to individuals that are brand new in business, or they've been in business for a couple of years, and it just might be in the area that you want to be in. And, I could look and go, well, I'm generally overall much more successful, but they're a heck of a lot more successful in the area that I want to be, and the area that I need to learn. And I need to just absorb all of that knowledge and be able to take it and move forward with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I was talking to somebody a couple of days ago about, it's a coaching program that I'm thinking of buying that's in the marketing space. And, when I was talking to the guy, I think I even said it out loud, was like, look, I'm not afraid to buy my way up the learning curve. Like, I know I could I'm resilient. I'll figure stuff out, but it's like, how do I figure this out in like a month through learning it from somebody else versus a year of my own time? And that opportunity cost lost of not doing it right for however long it takes for me to figure it out is expensive. That's the most expensive way, is to do it wrong for a while,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. So talk about, I think one of you sold your property management company, kind of starting over in a lot of ways. And I think one of the beauties of a lot of people that are in our mastermind, or not that a lot of people are selling their companies or even have, but it's this, I think a lot of people, they have sometimes when I talk about newer people kind of fail because they're afraid of failure. But I think there's also this fear of like, well, what if I have to start over? Like, what if I have to go back to a job, or what if I have to do something else? And I think after you've built a business up and you operate at a certain level and you get confidence from being around the right people, you're not afraid to start over, whatever that means. If it means selling a business and starting a new one, or it means losing everything and fighting your way back, or whatever it might be, it's this kind of idea of, look, if I had to start all over again, I know that I can get back to where I was in a small fraction of the time that I did it the first time, because I have the blueprint now, right?
Oh, and it's funny. I would love. I have this great idea for a reality show, and it's to take a super high level successful person. And I used to use this example to people. I'm like, take Donald Trump, strip him of all of his contacts, all of his money. I used to say this, 10 years ago when he wasn't president, but take him, drop him in the middle of nowhere. And I can assure you that he's going to build a business or be able to replicate or recreate himself. And I think a lot of that comes back to, business is a lot of just figuring out how to do things, what to do, what not to do. Right. I've always been an information junkie, been, involved in masterminds and read a lot and all that. And a lot of it is, I've always viewed it as I'm making, my business was really an extension of me. The better of a business person I was, the better my business is going to be. And subsequently, the worse of a manager I am, the more my business is going to struggle in certain areas, et cetera. And so I've always used that as kind of my goal when I'm looking for information or when I'm learning, is it's just building me, which then my business is really a reflection of me. And so like even now and starting over, I knew I would have success, as long as I didn't go and jump into an area that I really couldn't take my skills and transfer them to. I knew if I stayed somewhere within that, I would be able to, recreate success, because I'm just doing this, I'm really just transferring skills into another area. And I also think a lot of that comes too with just time. There's a lot of confidence that comes from that. But no, my philosophy in starting this was, well, I've done this before. I can do it again. And I can do it even better. I can do it faster. And so when you take the idea of like, well, no, if you lost everything, no, I know I would be able to definitely be able to rebuild and recreate. And that's a lot of what I'm doing. I'm starting from, I had a good business, a really good income, sold, your income stops. And now it's like, okay, figure out a way to generate income to live on. So it's, we're doing that again, and it's definitely not without challenges and frustrations, but I can definitely see, every day that goes by, we're just one step closer to getting to our goal, and things are moving much quicker now than they did, before.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of that is because when you had your last business, on some level, you get a little comfortable, right? And now
Yes.
you've got to build it back up. So you're like, you don't have the luxury of time because you're trying to, build it back up to where you were or beyond. So,
well, no, and that's the funny thing. I was probably the most miserable I'd ever been as a person. That when I sold my business, I had to work for them for 3 years. And really the last 2 years, I was just absolutely miserable because I was totally complacent. I was getting a paycheck, which showed up every month, and, it's never different because, business was good or bad. It was a really challenging time for me. It was the time where I was, financially the best off I'd ever been, but it was also, my just overall happiness and my wanting to jump out of bed and attack work wasn't there. And I was miserable. I hated it and had to get out. And I'm the worst employee there is. My former boss could tell you that, because, I want to attack stuff. I want to get up and go. And the idea of being patient, let's worry about that in 6 months. That's just not me. It's like, no, let's go, let's get after it. And, that's the one thing I'm really enjoying is I feel like it's kind of my second career, and, definitely enjoy, enjoy. Starting over sometimes can be tough because you're like, oh, I didn't used to have to deal with this. I actually have to, do administrative level stuff that's really, not that I don't enjoy it and like it. But I also know that it's, it's just a part of,
comes with the
part of
territory.
the process.
But you've got effectively like creative control, like you can determine your fate, your destiny, and instead of somebody saying, here's a list of tasks I need you to do, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about kind of bolting on, because I know you sold your company, had to work there, started doing some real estate investing, and then I know you've kind of seen, because now you're starting another property management company, you've kind of seen like how they complement each other. And there's a lot of people in this industry that are property managers and investors. They own brokerage and they're investor. They play a few different roles, but a lot of these businesses can complement each other well, right? So talk about the value of, if we're talking to somebody right now that's like a broker but not really an investor, or even a property manager and not really doing much investing, just how some of those things complement each other and kind of how you think about those things.
So what I really look at right now is synergy, is where is there synergy in a business? And, I look back now as I analyze, my former businesses and business. And one of the things that I kicked myself for the most was not finding really synergistic, really good synergies that I could have plugged into, or additional revenue streams that I could have easily added on with not much additional time, energy, et cetera. And so as I'm building our business and my, kind of long-term vision for it is, some people call it vertical, is my goal is to be as vertically integrated or as synergistic as possible. And using that, whether it's increasing just overall net profitability or being able to buy or have an infrastructure as a result of it. My whole goal and reason for having a property management company is no more than it allows me to build an infrastructure that other investors like myself wouldn't be able to do because of just the cash flow dynamics, the structure of the real estate investing business, et cetera. It's just not really there in my eyes. So to me, it's that infrastructure allows me to step more and more away from the business, allows me to spend more time on the higher, producing activities, whether it's raising capital or working on our marketing, et cetera, and getting out of the day-to-day weeds and just the kind of stuff that is integral to the business, but also, just takes up a lot of time. And so really, to me, it comes down to, is there synergy? Is there some synergistic way where there's a, hey, we've got this current operation. If we just add this position or add this additional role, et cetera, it all stays within the same, just all stays, within the same business. I'm not, recreating the wheel. I'm not adding, something that's going to take a lot of time and energy or thoughts or focus off. And I also think that, I think the one thing COVID has taught everyone is two things. Number one, you always have to be in a really good financial position. The people that are going to get through COVID and do well are going to get through because they've either got a really good brand, they built a really good business, it's on sound principles, it's got, good foundation, and they've got a lot of cash. Mm-hmm. And they've, been smart and socked away a lot of cash. And I think that adding those synergies onto business allows for additional stability that would not be there if not put on.
Yep. Awesome. Well, hey, Preston, we talked a little bit about Investor Fuel throughout. You're a member of the Investor Fuel group. You joined a little over a year ago. You're San Diego. Was that your first?
It was. Yep.
Okay. So that was like last summer, I guess. So a year and a half ago or so. But would you mind just kind of sharing a little bit of a testimonial for Investor Fuel, how it's kind of impacted you so far?
Absolutely. So I'd say a few things. Number one is the information share and the willingness for all of the other individuals to openly want to share, openly want to give information, are generally concerned about, others' businesses. Same thing for you, Mike and Stenson. I mean, you guys have always been so gracious with your time and, just being willing to talk through, scenarios and help. That's been incredible. I've been a part of a lot of masterminds, and a lot of them tend to feel like people are just there in terms of what can I get out of this and what can I take away. And most entrepreneurs want to just talk and love talking about their business and how smart they are. What I love about Investor Fuel is there's a lot of people that love to listen and are very open and interested in offering, great advice. I probably named, 10 people that connections I've made over the last year that I could pick up the phone at 10 or 11 o'clock at night and be like, hey, I've got a real big problem. Can you help me with it? And they would absolutely do it. Which that'd be really the second thing that I think is fantastic about Investor Fuel. And I think a lot of it starts with you is the relationships that are built out of that are tremendous. You are you're a relationship guy, and it's one of those things where, I've been a part of other groups where it just feels like somebody's just there happy to have you as a client, and that's it. Is the general caringness. We've made great friends out of it. I mean, friends that we'll have, if Investor Fuel was gone tomorrow, which definitely hope, and would be, devastated if it was, but friends that we would have, for the rest of our life, and just great people. And so it's a very unique group in the sense of when you take into account the willingness to share the information, the tremendous knowledge. I was blown away. I kind of went in with an ego and was like, yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing. I get kind of caught up. And then, after a year, I'm like, God, I'm really stupid. Like, I don't know, a fraction of what, others there do. And so that information and what it's done for our business is tremendous. But then also the relationships we built, has been just phenomenal. And so it's one thing I knew. It's like, it's the most important bill that goes out the door every month, because it's our investment in, having a great business, a great life, et cetera.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the kind words. So, and one of the things that you said is, that everybody there is a giver and open to sharing. And the truth is they wouldn't be that way necessarily if you weren't that way. So thanks for being a great member and always being able to share your knowledge too. So awesome, man. So, hey, if folks want to connect with you in any way, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Facebook's the easiest way. I'm just, Preston Letts on Facebook, and happy to reach out, happy to connect. And I love talking business. I love talking, growing businesses, and I'm definitely not the smartest person when it comes to business, but, happy to help in any way I can.
Appreciate that. We'll add a link down below in the show notes for your Facebook account if anyone wants to check you out. So thanks so much for sharing your time with us today, sharing your story.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to seeing you next week at Investor Fuel, actually coming up.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Awesome. Everybody, hey, thanks for joining us for today's show. Hope you got some good value here. At the end of the day, don't be afraid to fail. It's just a stepping stone on your way to success. It's actually part of the process. There's no way that you can get to any level of sustainable success without failing a bunch of times, and that's okay. So hope you got some good value. We'll see you on the next show. Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.